Some people's Kundalini just pops off spontaneously, and in one single moment, bang, their whole world has changed. And this happens fairly frequently. I see it all the time when people come to me for help after a big shock in the system like that. But the reality is, most of our modern nervous systems just aren't prepared for that kind of blast. Now, I'm not saying these things to sound the alarms or to start people panicking. It's just important to recognize the truth. Our minds and bodies usually aren't trained for this level of intensity. A mere trickle of energy in the third eye or a new sensation in the left knee can freak people out these days, leading to delusions of grandeur or just sheer panic. And it just kind of points to the fact that we've all become a bit soft. For countless generations, sages studied and practiced the great secrets of yoga. But over time, fewer people seemed genuinely ready for the profound truths these teachings offer. So by secret, I don't mean hidden or exclusive by any means. It's just that so few people are actually prepared to hear them in our modern era, and far fewer are willing to embody it. But today, I'm going to condense about a decade's worth of yoga insights into this single video. That's right, 10 years in 10 minutes. I really hope that you're the type of person who will be ready and open to hearing it. So we're going to be diving into, firstly, what makes a Kundalini awakening premature? Secondly, we're going to have a look at the fixation problem, why we fixate on sensations with fear and then need to fix them. And finally, the storehouse of karma and why your life can go haywire after an awakening. But first, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, The Freedom Blueprint, but more on that later. So let's jump right in. Firstly, what makes a Kundalini awakening premature? When I use the word premature, hold off on that ego trying to prove me wrong, just hear me out. Premature here doesn't mean a mistake or bad timing. It also doesn't mean it wasn't meant to happen or that you're not destined for it. You see, destiny is destiny and timing is timing. But in this context, premature means the awakening occurred in a nervous system that wasn't fully trained or primed for that level of energy. No real preparatory work was done. No regular sadhana, which is your daily spiritual practice. See, sadhana helps your body become a strong vessel to be able to handle powerful energies without causing internal breaks or overloading the nervous system. So what does it look like then, this premature awakening? What are some of the possible signs that we might experience in our system if this has happened for us? Well, firstly, if your mind is in constant freak-out mode. Secondly, perhaps you often feel quite ungrounded and scattered. Thirdly, you might be relying on substances like alcohol, drugs, overeating to numb out the intensity. And finally, you can become hyper-focused on new sensations in your body, triggering more fear and panic. Now, that's not an exhaustive list, but these are just some ideas that came to me in the moment. Now, nothing's necessarily wrong with this scenario. It's just that there's a flood of new energy coursing through a not so strong nervous system. And then if you add in a tendency for the mind to panic, and then you can see where this awakening path can get quite tricky quite fast. So then let's talk about the fixation problem. This is where OCD can become spiritual. Now, if you've been around any people with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, you might notice that they often feel like they're bad or wrong in some way, and they fixate or they obsess on something because it makes them feel in more control. Again, I'm not a doctor, so don't flood the comments. This is just my personal perspective on how the mental emotional mechanism might work. Typically, there's an initial fixation, what we would call in the yogic tradition, identification. And then there's an urge to fix whatever seems off control. Spiritually, the ego can latch onto this cycle, which stems, by the way, from a trauma response to not feeling in control as a child. So we become obsessed with correcting or controlling a certain sensation or thought, believing that if we can just fix it, we'll feel safe. But in reality, what we truly crave isn't mental safety, but the safety of feeling connected with our deepest self, the big S self. This deeper sense of safety isn't accessed by the mind, it's a felt experience in a well-regulated nervous system. So here's the yogic perspective. Childhood experiences often teach us to disconnect from our inner power source. We would call this a samskara or a wound. But yoga in itself is about reconnecting or unifying. It's what yoga literally means, unity, with that source. So we're reconnecting back with that source that we were disconnected from as a child. Yet after an awakening of any form of Shakti or energy, because many of us are stuck in this fixation problem, we have to navigate sometimes a very lengthy and challenging path, because all of the stuff gets stirred up and we fixate on it, which leads us to the storehouse of karma. A sudden jolt of Shakti, Kundalini energy, doesn't let you skip a few grades. There's still a storehouse of unresolved karma that you've got to work through. It just happens at hyperspeed now. You're on an accelerated karmic journey, which can be really intense, especially in the first 3-ish years after that experience. So here's some advice. Find a teacher and find one that really knows what they're doing. Now, if you're interested in taking your spiritual endeavors to the next level, we do offer one-to-one coaching or group coaching at a more affordable cost, and we call that the Freedom Blueprint. If you're interested, you can book a call with us, and the link for that is down below. Let's have a look at some of the signs that your storehouse of karma is still loaded with stuff. Well, you revert to old patterns even after awakening. Your mind pulls you back into limiting beliefs and thought loops and intrusive thinking. You catch yourself acting out unconscious habits as well. So if those things are happening in you, here are some of the potential consequences of that. For example, weight gain, substance addiction, or any other form of addiction really. Perhaps you might be getting overwhelmed by even minor things, so we need to self-isolate. See, the key is to diligently and patiently work on your sadhana, and sometimes it can be good to withdraw from life as you do that, because your sadhana is your daily practice that's going to allow you to peel away the layers of karma. Over time, you're going to feel lighter, freer, and more expansive. Now, it's all well and good understanding all of this, and you've had an introduction into sadhana and how that may begin transforming your life. But if you want to dive really deep into the idea of sadhana, get an understanding of what it really is, how it's going to help your life, how it actually works, and then the stages of development that you'll go through with those practices, then by all means, you can press that button there. It's going to take you to that video, and you can see the practices that began to change the very fabric of my existence.